In the early 1980s, American television witnessed an ambitious spectacle unlike anything that had come before. It was big, it was sweeping, and it dared to take on the entire scope of World War II, from the polished halls of Washington to the burning streets of Warsaw. This was The Winds of War, a 7-part, 14-hour miniseries based on Herman Wouk's best-selling novel. Airing on ABC in February 1983, the series quickly became a cultural event, drawing tens of millions of viewers and redefining what TV storytelling could look like. Let's dive into this monumental production, its characters, storylines, history, and legacy. The Winds of War isn't just another World War II drama, it's a panoramic narrative about the forces, political, personal, and military, that led the world into total war. At its heart, it's about one American family and their entanglement with history. The series centers on Navy officer Victor Pug Henry, played by the legendary Robert Mitchum, and follows him as he rises in rank and prestige while navigating the pre-war crises across Europe and Asia. Through his eyes, and the experiences of his family, we see the dominoes fall, Hitler's rise, the fall of Poland, the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and the slow but inevitable American entry into the war. At the core of The Winds of War is the Henry family, a group of complex characters caught in the shifting tides of history. Victor Pug Henry Robert Mitchum, a straight-talking, principled Navy officer. His assignments take him around the globe and he becomes a key observer of international affairs. While devoted to his country, his personal life is full of quiet turmoil. Rhoda Henry, Polly Bergen, Pug's wife, who feels neglected by her husband's dedication to duty. Her emotional isolation leads her down a controversial path, testing the bonds of marriage. Byron Henry Jan Michael Vincent, Pug's rebellious younger son. He resists a military career and instead becomes involved in Europe as a civilian, working for renowned Jewish author and scholar Aaron Jastrow. Warren Henry Ben Murphy, the older son, who takes the more conventional path as a naval aviator. He's brave, loyal, and mirrors the ideal son in contrast to Byron's independent streak. Natalie Jastrow, Ali McGraw, Aaron Jastrow's niece and Byron's love interest. She's smart, assertive, and courageous, a Jewish-American woman who finds herself trapped in Europe as war closes in. Aaron Jastrow, John Houseman, a well-respected American academic and a world-renowned expert on European politics and religion. His refusal to recognize the danger of Nazism leads to tragic consequences. Supporting characters include real historical figures like Franklin D. Roosevelt, Ralph Bellamy, Adolf Hitler, Gunter Meisner, Winston Churchill, and Benito Mussolini, all depicted in dramatized scenes based on actual historical moments. The show begins in 1939, just before the outbreak of war. Pug Henry is appointed naval attaché to Berlin. It's not a glamorous job, but it places him at the epicenter of diplomatic intrigue. Pug soon finds himself serving as an unofficial observer of Hitler's Germany, and his reports become vital to FDR. Meanwhile, in Italy, Byron works with Aaron Jastrow, but tension rises as the reality of the Nazi threat becomes clear. Byron falls for Natalie, but their romance is complicated by both family politics and geopolitical ones. Natalie is proud of her Jewish heritage and determined to stay in Europe and protect her uncle, even as the Nazis grow bolder. As Hitler invades Poland, the series shifts to Warsaw, showing the brutal siege through the eyes of civilians. Natalie's friend, the Polish Jewish woman Leslie Sloat, tries to escape the chaos with secret intelligence documents. These sequences don't pull punches. Bombings, executions, and anti-Semitic terror unfold in devastating detail. Pug Henry travels between capitals, Berlin, Rome, Moscow, and London, meeting with Churchill and Stalin, and witnessing firsthand the disintegration of diplomacy. Each trip reveals more of the coming storm, yet his warnings fall on deaf ears. Meanwhile, his marriage begins to unravel. Rhoda, feeling neglected and abandoned, begins an affair with an industrialist named Palmer Kirby. As the timeline approaches 1941, events begin to converge. Byron and Natalie marry under difficult circumstances and are soon separated as she flees from occupied Europe. Pug becomes increasingly influential as Roosevelt relies on his assessments to shape U.S. foreign policy. Warren is deployed in the Pacific, setting up the Pearl Harbor arc. The series culminates with Japan's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, which is dramatized in a tense, final episode. The Henrys are now fully engulfed in the war. Pug is elevated to a more prominent role in the Navy. Byron and Natalie are caught behind enemy lines, and the world has officially descended into the global conflict. What sets The Winds of War apart is its scale and ambition. The series mixes real historical footage with dramatized scenes, creating a semi-documentary style. Between the fictional storylines, we see lecture segments narrated by William Woodson, explaining key geopolitical concepts like fascism, communism, and appeasement. These interludes help ground the drama in reality. The series doesn't shy away from depicting the atrocities committed by the Nazis, especially against the Jews. It also examines American ambivalence prior to Pearl Harbor and the limitations of appeasement policies in Europe. Wook's story is steeped in historical fidelity. The adaptation tries to retain that texture. We get scenes with Hitler in his Berghof residence, Mussolini holding court in Rome, Churchill bracing for the Battle of Britain, and Stalin negotiating the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. All of it woven seamlessly through Pug Henry's diplomatic journey. Even though the performances sometimes veer toward the melodramatic, and Robert Mitchum's age made him a questionable casting choice for a man supposedly in his 40s, the characters remain compelling. Ali MacGraw's Natalie brings urgency and humanity to the growing Jewish tragedy, while John Houseman's Aaron is a portrait of denial in the face of evil. Produced for a staggering $40 million, a record at the time, The Winds of War spared no expense. The series was filmed in Europe and the US using authentic locations whenever possible. The music, composed by Bob Cobert, delivers a sweeping, symphonic score that elevates the series' emotional punch. When it premiered in February 1983, it was broadcast over 7 nights and became a ratings juggernaut. The finale alone was watched by over 80 million people, making it one of the most watched miniseries in television history, rivaled only by Roots and Shogun. Critics were mostly favorable. While some complained about the wooden acting or the slow pace, many praised the scope, attention to historical accuracy, and the attempt to educate viewers. Robert Mitchum's stoic performance grew on audiences, and Polly Bergen was nominated for an Emmy for her portrayal of Rhoda. The success of The Winds of War led to the production of a sequel, War and Remembrance, aired in 1988, which picks up where the first series ended, following the Henrys through the heart of the war, including the Holocaust and Hiroshima. Even today, The Winds of War is remembered as a landmark in historical television. It proved that audiences were hungry for epic stories that didn't just entertain but also informed. The Winds of War isn't perfect. Some performances are uneven, the pacing can lag, and at times it leans too heavily on exposition. But what it achieves is still remarkable. It captures the scale of a world tipping into war, through both intimate stories and sweeping geopolitical shifts. For history buffs, it's a goldmine. For fans of character drama, it's rich with emotional nuance. And for anyone who wants to understand how a world at peace unraveled into chaos, it's one of the best dramatizations ever made. Herman Wouk once said that history was too important to be left only to historians. The Winds of War proves his point. It brings the past to life, not just with facts and dates, but with people, love, fear, and sacrifice. So if you haven't watched it, consider setting aside a few evenings and diving in. It's more than a miniseries. It's a journey through one of the most pivotal periods in human history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Winds of War, be sure to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what your favorite moment was, or whether you preferred War and Remembrance. And if you're looking for more World War II TV retrospectives, check out our videos on Band of Brothers, the Pacific, and Tora. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more stories from history brought to the screen.